one half of Kenzona's Mom. I'm here. How y'all doing? Um, y'all, this was so unplanned. So let me try to focus, okay? Um, I know no one's on here, but this is for everybody who's going to come back and watch it later, right? So I've been wanting to make this video for a while now, but however, today is it's Sunday, October 5th, 2025. The current time here in Arizona is 11:02 a.m. The current temperature is 79 degrees and rising, okay? But let me share this with y'all, okay? Um, so I was I moved here to Arizona in December of 2024. Y'all, listen, I came to Arizona with less than $1,000 in my pocket. I came here trusting and believing that God brought me here for a reason and that He was going to provide for me and my family while we were here, right? At the time when I first came here, it was just myself and Kenzo, who is now 3 years old. He was 2 years old at the time. And y'all, I had less than $1,000 in my pocket. I um I had like probably $1,600, and the plans didn't go through the way I thought that they were supposed, like how I planned them originally. However, on December 7th, I was like, something gotta give, right? I was coming here for a job, but I also believe that that was the natural reason why I was coming here. But behind the scenes, I knew it was a spiritual thing, right? Led by God. And people were telling me, don't go, that's not what God is saying, and all kind of stuff, right? Except one thing you gotta know is you gotta have a relationship with God for yourself, and you gotta be able to hear God for yourself, and you gotta be able to be obedient to the voice of God, to the instruction of God, because you're going to have to answer to that, right? It's okay for leaders and friends and family to want the best for you, and that's fine. Pray for me. Pray for me that I receive God's best, right? And this is no shade. This is not me trying to be funny. I am serious, okay? Because um, too often than not, do people who they say they have their best interest at heart. However, sometimes it's like what they think is best for you and what God has for you is totally different, right? And I love everybody in my life who's ever been a good influence on me, who's helped me along the way, who even those who taught me valuable lessons by way of mistakes. And hi everybody that just came in. I'm just talking about my journey here in Arizona, right? So I moved here. I purchased a plane ticket. I had never flown before in my life. Neither had my baby Kenzo. And so on December 7th of 2024, I purchased a plane ticket, a one-way ticket to Arizona. Believing I had a job here, set up and everything. I had already been with that company for almost 3 years. And so I felt good about it. I had a letter of recommendation from my HR department and from some of the staff in my current and my old job, then current job. And um, I was feeling good about this move. I believe that this is what God was doing, and He was doing something different. He was doing something new, and so I was trusting God. And so I ended up um, purchasing a plane ticket on December 7th. Throughout the night, I stayed up and I packed our suitcase. I packed probably 7 outfits apiece for Kenzo and I. And I packed just the essential items that we were going to need. And we got on that plane on the morning of December 8th of 2024. Okay. Hi. And so on that morning, we caught the flight. We got here. I had his stroller. I had his car seat. I had one suitcase, and I had like a travel on bag, my purse, and his book bag, right? Hey, how are you? I said hi too, sweetheart. Hi. I don't know if you heard me, but hi. And so, anyhow, I'm fine, thank you. I'm just sharing a little story here. So, I ended up. Oh yeah, when I booked my flight, I also booked a hotel, and I booked a hotel for probably 4 days, maybe. Now, mind you, I started out with $1,600. I'm telling a story about how I came here to Arizona with less than $1,000 in my pocket, and I've been here for almost a year, right? So, when I booked my flight, I also booked the hotel for about 4 nights. The agreement was that I was going to come here, and my friend girl was going to watch my baby while I worked, and then my cousin was going to house us at his house temporarily. Except when we got here, I stayed in a hotel for a few days, went to visit my cousin, found out, hi, how are you, Bella? Hi, Bihindi, if that's how you pronounce that. But however, so um so I went to go visit my cousin. So this is what happened. I landed here in Arizona, and they would not rent me a car at the airport, y'all. They would not rent me a car at the airport because I didn't have a round trip ticket. I didn't have a I didn't have a um what was it? I'm sorry. I didn't have a plane. I didn't have a round trip ticket. I didn't have a major credit card, and I didn't have an in-state license. So they would not rent a car to me at the airport, right? Now I call Enterprise outside of the airport because I'm like, let me see if they tell me something different. I mess with Enterprise. Like that's probably the only um rental car agency that I work with consistently at that point, right? So I'm like, I've rented cars in different states. I've driven cars to different states. Like, come on, like we have a rapport, right? Mm-mm. I called them and they was like, nope. And so, a cosmetologist. One second, a cosmetologist is someone who studies hair and cosmetics to some degree. So, however, um we were so I booked the hotel and everything. So we get here, I can't rent a car, so I ended up calling an Uber. So I call an Uber to drop us off at our hotel. Now things are changing because I'm like, dang, I needed a rental car because I wanted to be able to go grocery shopping for the room because we're here for a few days, whatever. So, we get in the rental car. I mean, we get into the Uber, and on our way to the hotel, I'm thinking, dang, now I'm gonna have to do an Instacart or something I've never done before. But now I'm gonna have to order Instacart or something so that we could get our food. Y'all, we got to our hotel room, we checked in and everything. On the way for me walking to my door, I see that my hotel room is right in front of a Walmart, and I was like, okay, all right. So, mind you, I had a stroller, so we put everything in the room, check everything good, and then we walked to Walmart. And we went to Walmart and we did a little grocery shopping. At this point, I probably, between the room and the ticket, I probably spent a little over $700 or so between the flight and the hotel, right? I only had 1,600 to begin with, right? So now I'm down to roughly eight something $900 on the first day here, okay? And so I'm like, okay. So I walk to Walmart and I get us some groceries and everything, and then I get back to the hotel room and realize we don't have any silverware, we don't have any dishes or anything. So we only had a microwave and a mini fridge in this particular hotel room. Even though I booked an apartment style hotel room, that ain't what they gave me once I got here. But it was already paid for. They said, "Oh, you have to go through something a different process." I'm just like, "That's not how y'all advertised it." But okay, it's still my first day in Arizona. We ain't trying to rock the boat, right? So, what ended up happening was I ended up we went back out, and now I'm like, okay, we about to go back to Walmart because now I need some silverware and some paper plates and stuff, right? Except y'all, we get outside the hotel gates, and why is it a Dollar Tree across the street? It is a Dollar Tree across the street from the hotel. So I'm like, okay, I'm about to go over to Dollar Tree instead and save a couple dollars, right? So I get over there, I get the things that we need, we go back to the hotel. So after maybe a day or so there, there as the hotel here in Arizona. After about a day or so in the hotel, I communicate with my job and I let them know, hey, I made it, so on and so forth. They like, okay, let us get things figured out and then we'll give you a call, because I had originally told them that I wasn't coming because I wasn't able to physically make things happen on my end. So I was just like, I thought I wasn't going to come, so I just told them like I'm not going to come, and but if I do get there, I'll let y'all know, right? So um I knew DOL was coming in. I knew corporate was coming in, and because I've been with this company at that point almost 3 years, I knew how that worked. And so I wasn't trying to hold them up on their hiring process or anything like that. So I was just like, if I get there, I'll let you guys know. So, but now remember, this is all me trusting God, right? So, um, I I was on my way out to catch the bus, because one of the days that on that day that I was walking and I was going back and forth to the stores and stuff, I remember seeing a bus. And I was like, let me go see if I can figure out this bus. And, maybe that could be my ride back and forth to work, whatever. Right now, my friend girl who's supposed to keep my baby is unavailable. Her and her family is on a trip. It's almost Christmas. They're on a Christmas vacation type situation. So she's not available just yet. But it was already discussed before I came here. She was like, I'll keep them, whatever, right? So, maybe the second day, possibly the second day, in the hotel room here in Arizona, I was on my way to go catch the bus, and I ran into a lady at the hotel where I was staying. And I asked her, we were talking, and I was like, the funny thing is, let me pause. I had just was on the phone with one of my mentees, and I was just telling her like she needed transportation back home in Michigan. I was like, well, don't forget that y'all can rent a U-Haul and use that as transportation, right? Because like one of the popular things to do for people who maybe can't get maybe they have a driver's license but don't have decent credit, or whatever the case is, only have a certain amount of money. Sometimes they're not able to rent a rental car, but they're able to rent a U-Haul. And a lot of times they'll get the vans or they'll get the pickup trucks, and they'll utilize that as transportation or whatever. So I had gave that idea to her, but I didn't even think about that for myself. So, as I'm walking out of my hotel room and I'm talking to this lady, one of the people who live there, whatever, um, we had sparked up a conversation, and I was just saying how I had just got here, and they wouldn't rent me a car. And she was like, really? They wouldn't rent you a car? I'm like, no, and I don't understand why. That gave her the reasons why. And she was like, oh, okay, that makes sense, whatever. And I was like, yeah, so um she was like, but there's a U-Haul place down the street. You can go get you a U-Haul. And I was like, you right. I just suggested that to my student, my mentee back home, but I didn't even think about that for myself. So I walked in and she said, yeah, go down there, tell them such and such sent you. And I'm like, okay. So I go down there. The person who she told me to go talk to wasn't there, and they didn't have any cargo vans. I wanted a van. I didn't want a regular moving truck, and they didn't have any pickup trucks. They didn't have any cargo vans. So I was like, okay. So I called another location to see if they had one. They said yeah. So I ended up calling the Lyft to take me to the next location, because that was a little ways on the other side of town. So we get over there, and y'all, why this location is just a storage unit? Except this wasn't the right location. It was like one that was the storage unit, and there was one a little ways down. There was actually a U-Haul rental truck place, and then my Uber driver, my Lyft driver was really patient with me. Thank you so much. I don't remember his name, but thank you so much, because he was really patient with me. He took me further than he was supposed to, even though he did get paid for it. But I was just like, if you work with me right here, I'll compensate you. I'm not worried about that. Just I don't want to be out here walking too far in this heat with my baby. And even though Arizona winter heat is not the same as Arizona summer heat, this was new for me, because it was about to snow back home where in Michigan, where I was coming from. So I get over to the U-Haul place, and that one only have storage units. They don't have any vehicles. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I Google the next one, and the next one is probably about a 12 to 15-minute walk down the way. So we walk down there. I get down there. This manager, whoever he was, had a little chip on his shoulder or something because he was acting like really rude to me. But I was like, do you have any vans or any trucks, pickup trucks available for rent? And he was like, no, all of mine have been reserved. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I said, he said, but there's another location on this street. I said, is there any way I can set up can you check and see if they have any pickup trucks or vans available? He checked. I said, is there any way I can set up a reservation here so that it'll be covered before I get there, And so he was like, yeah, I could do that. So I'm like, okay, thank you. So we leave and we go get on the bus. This is our first time on the bus, and this is probably our second day here in Arizona. We're on the bus, and we go get on the bus, and we catch the bus to the transit station, and then catch that bus to the U-Haul place. So we go and we check out. We rent a U-Haul and everything. I get a U-Haul, and I get a cargo van, and so I take it. And the first thing I do is I check out the highway. I want to see what the highway drive like, right? I want to see what my route to work is going to be like, so I'll know how to plan. Because whenever you get a new job, you always want to go out there and do a test drive first, because you just excuse me, if you don't know what to expect with traffic and things like that, then it'll get you there late, so on and so forth. So I went out there, and did a test drive. Okay, so I thought I was about to yawn, but so I did a test run to get to drive. I drove downtown to see where my job was, to see if there was a bus or anything around my job, to be sure that I was going to be able to um navigate properly. And so I did that, and then I went to go visit my cousin who I was supposed to stay at house. And so we spent some time over there, whatever. And then on the way back, um, after we pulled off from my cousin's house, my baby was doing just fine. We pulled off from my cousin's house, and then Kenzo started vomiting all over the U-Haul. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on, right? Now, before we left Flint, he and I had both got a little bug or something, and I thought it was all the way gone, but he was still on his antibiotics. So I was thinking maybe the antibiotic was getting that up out of him or whatever. However, y'all, I had received, unbeknownst to me, I had received while at my cousin's house, I had received an email from the job saying that they wanted me to come in the very next morning and for my training or whatever. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this late at night, what am I going to do about Kenzo, right? My friend is not available right now. I just left my cousin's house. Him and his wife and their children got their own little routine set up and everything. What am I about to do? So, um, y'all, so I call a daycare because I had already went and checked out this. Okay, so that was one of the things I did with the vehicle too. When I first got it, I went and checked out a daycare, and they only had a couple. At the time, I only found one that was 24 hours. And so, because I was working on third shift, I'm like, okay, I need daycare overnight. So, I went and checked out the daycare center, and I went and checked out the daycare center earlier that day, and I also inquired about a job just in case. Who knows? Anything could happen, right? So, what I did was, um, I what I ended up doing was I checked out that daycare center and everything, and then that was that. So later, when I got the email about the job wanting me to come in the next day or whatever, I called the daycare back and I said, hey, I came in today to check out, everything to apply for my baby, da da da. I said, but I found out since I left there that I have orientation or training tomorrow morning, and I wanted to know if you guys could provide care for tomorrow. And they were like, oh yeah, we could do that. Um, so you'll either pay $50 in cash, or you'll pay 70 dollars. Was it 75 dollars? One of them, by if you paying by card. So I'm thinking, why would I pay more by card and I could just go get cash out the ATM? And so that's what I did. And so I went and I got cash out the ATM, and I ended up only getting 100. I got $100 because I didn't want a whole lot of cash on me, but I wanted to make sure I got my money's worth because this particular ATM wasn't a part of my credit union, and so they were going to charge me, and I felt like if I'm going to get charged the same amount, whether I take this amount of money or this amount of money, I might as well take this amount of money, right? So, a small amount or a large amount of money, basically. And so I ended up taking like $100, and it wasn't a large amount of money, but it was more than what I needed at that moment. And so I ended up I ended up taking him to the daycare that morning, and I paid them the $50 up front, and then I went on ahead to my job to do my training. While in my training, I find out that they have bus passes that they give the students, that they provide for the students, and that sometimes they'll extend it to the staff as well, and they supply them at a discounted rate, right? So they like, okay, so for the express pass that was going to be like $104, but with the discount from the job it was going to be $52. Mind you, I still have this other 50 that I took out the bank earlier that I really didn't need to take out the bank, but here we are. So I got this 50, and I'm asking people, I'm like, hey, do y'all got $2 I can cash? If y'all got it in cash, I can cash app it to y'all because I'm short $2 to get this bus pass. So the express pass pay for you to get on the express bus to go across the expressway, the regular local bus, the train, and all of that, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get that because I don't know where I'm gonna end up, and who knows, right? So I was like, I was like, okay. So we went to the finance department, and y'all, I was in my wallet, and I'm like, let me see if I got these $2. Y'all, I had a solid dollar bill and 10 dimes. I said, "Do y'all can I give you some change?" And he was like, "Sure." Now it's not a whole lot of pennies and nickels and stuff. I'm like, no, it's just 10 dimes. He was like, yeah, that's fine. So I bought the bus pass, y'all. To this day, I've been here for almost a year. I still have almost $70 on this bus pass. Okay, but I'm telling you, I was out and about using it because I needed it. So long story short, kind of, but fast forward from there, I go to the orientation that day. Now this day was the day I was supposed to turn in the U-Haul, except I'm not done with my orientation and stuff in time, so I extended it for another day. And I was just like, I'll bring it in tomorrow, right? So tomorrow came. Tomorrow was like a Thursday. So on that Thursday, I had to check out of my hotel room as well. But y'all, stuff ain't making sense, right? I'm just like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I'm praying. I'm just like, Lord, I need direction because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, right? I came out here because I believe that you were sending me out here. So, what's next? Cause me, I'm feeling like I'm about to get back on the airplane and call this a vacation, right? Because now, mind you, money steady getting low. I think after the U-Haul, I probably had maybe 800 and something dollars left. After the U-Haul, I think I have 500 some dollars left. Mind y'all, I've only been here for about 3 days at this point, right? Came here with less than $1,000, right? Woo, thank you, Jesus. So, I go to turn in the U-Haul. No, I was talking to my friend. Shout out to Javon, right? He was a friend of mine that I met in adult ed. It was in school when I was about 17, 18 years old. Long story short, that was my dog. He still is my dog, right? But the point is, that ain't what we talking about. So he said, come over here with us. He was talking about him and his mama, right? And I'm like, did you talk to your mama about that? Did she say we could come over there? You know what I'm saying? And he was like, yeah, she said, I'm like, you sure? And he was like, yeah. So I go drop the U-Haul off, and I have a lift come pick us up to drop us off over their house. Now, mind you, they lived, I worked in downtown Phoenix. They lived in Peoria, right? Which from downtown Phoenix is maybe 45 minutes or so, right? The bus don't go to their house. But I got this bus pass, right? So I get to their house. That was a situation. I spoke to his mom. Shout out to Miss Rhonda Anderson. I really appreciate you for extending like your house, your home to me and my baby in our time of need, like so seriously. I really appreciated that because that really gave me the jump start that I needed, right? Because although I only stayed there about 2.5 weeks, but the point was I needed that in that time, right? And it was like kind of living in a shelter. Like I came, I went, I did what I needed to do. I cleaned up after myself and my child. I helped out in whatever way that I could. Not that they needed anything, because she was a working woman. She is a working woman, and she take care of everything, right? And she was a single mom as well, so she understood my journey that I was on, right? And she is a believer, right? So she understood the journey that I was on, so she gave me a chance, right? And I'm really grateful for that, and I know that God put her in my path for a reason, because again, this was something that he was doing. This wasn't something that I was doing, because I would have been back home that first week I came here, right? Because if it was up to me, we would have been gone. So anyhow, she let me stay there for a couple weeks, and the routine became, it was a bus stop probably a mile or two up from their house. So what I would do is I would catch an Uber or a Lyft from their house to the bus stop, and then because I got this express pass, I'm going to take the bus to the train, take the train to my job. And this is what I did 5 days a week, right? I would take my baby with me, and my friend girl would pick him up from my job, and then she would bring him back to my job the next morning, because I worked from 11 um 11:30 to 8:30 in the morning, right? But some days, because I was on public transportation, I would get there 2 hours early. So some nights I would be there at 9:30. You know what I'm saying? But anyhow, my friend girl, she would come pick my baby up, keep him for my work shift, and then come back and bring him to me on her way to work in the morning. And this is what we did every day. And then I would take that train to that bus to that Lyft or that Uber, and I would go back to where I was staying at. So at the same time, I'm dialing 211. I'm calling the resource services and everything, trying to see if there's a shelter or something that's available, so that I can have a space of my own, and then work my way up from there. And so, um, on probably the 27th, I believe, maybe, of December, I was talking to my friend's mom, and she was asking, like, how everything was going. Mind you, I moved in her house on, I think it was December 13th. So on like December 27th or something, she had was like, how was everything going? So I'm telling her, like, I'm looking, I found one place in particular, and so on and so forth. And she was like, oh, so by the first, things will be worked out. And I was like, yep, it'll be worked out. I didn't know if things were going to be worked out by the first. I never said that because I didn't know if things were going to be worked out by the first. Mind you, this Christmas break, this is going into the new year. Places are normally closed around that time. So I don't know that it's going to be worked out by the first. But because I felt like, to some degree, I felt like she was giving me an out date. I ain't even gonna lie. So I was just like, yep, we'll be out by the first because I was gonna be gone by the first, whether I had anything or not. And and so on, I think maybe the 28th, I got a phone call from a shelter asking if me and my baby still needed housing, and I said yes. And y'all, they said, okay, pack your things and be here Monday morning. And I was like, okay. No, Monday afternoon, I'm sorry. So, um, I did just that. I went to pack my things. Well, my stuff was already pretty much packed up, but I got it more situated so that we'll be ready to go. And on that Monday afternoon, they sent transportation to pick me up, and me and my baby went into the shelter on December 30th, before the first, by the first. Ain't that right? Ain't that right? So I don't have any ill feelings towards Miss Rhonda or anything like that because I know God was working things out. Like I just trusted God, and so, and besides, it wasn't a reason other than I felt like she was giving me an out date. But okay, like she didn't have to open up her home to me, and she did, and I appreciate that, right? So, now don't get me wrong, I was kind of like wondering, like, okay, guys, is it gonna be worked out by the first? But I did apply for this apartment, and I passed my background check and everything, so I had a backup plan. So if the shelter hadn't called me, I would have been going to that apartment complex and figuring out my way from there to work, right? So that was an issue. So, and I think that's why she had asked like by the first thing to be worked out. But um, at that point, I don't even think I had got a call back about my background check yet, and so that was why I wasn't sure like what exactly was going to happen or whatever. So Monday comes, we go into the shelter. They send transportation, pick us up. We go to the shelter, and we stay in the shelter, which the shelter was a beautiful shelter in a beautiful part of Arizona, and this was a different type of shelter. Like a lot of shelters you will go to, sometimes they just have beds lined up or whatever, and sometimes they'll have staff, first shift, second shift, third shift staff. This particular shelter only had first shift staff, and the way that the center was set up, it was like a Airbnb type of thing, and you could come and go as you please. You know, go handle your business. You did have a curfew. However, um, if you needed just if you absolutely needed to leave after hours and come back, long as you can explain it, as long as it was justified, you could do it if you needed to. However, there was cameras and intercoms in certain places of the house, but um, I could appreciate it because it was just us grown adults there with our families, and they were giving us a chance to show our independence, right? And I really appreciated that because it was a clean place, especially when everybody did their chores as expected. But it was like an Airbnb, right? The staff was not there hovering over you, making sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like they're tracking your progress every week or every couple weeks or something. We were having a meeting with our case manager or whatever the case was. And when I tell you that that was that was good. I tried to figure out the bus situation from there because that was Scottsdale. Mind you, I done lived in Phoenix. I done lived in Peoria, and now I'm in Scottsdale. And Scottsdale was probably 30 to 40 minutes from my job as well. Originally, I was supposed to be living in Avondale. Avondale was about a 45-minute to hour drive from my job, right? So, so now I'm in the shelter, and I'm trying to figure out a little setup. Like I'm doing the same thing as I was. I'm trying to do the same thing I was doing in Peoria, but it ain't working because the bus system in Scottsdale is just a little different. So It's days I get off of work and me and my baby, we get off and get on the bus at 8:30 in the morning. We don't get home until 4:30, right? That took a lot out of me. And so I was like, I'm not gonna keep doing this. Like, I can't. It's just too much. And at that point in the game, I had just came too far to turn back in order to give up. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna start taking the Uber to work from the shelter and back and forth because that's it. And so then things changed. My friend girl had started picking up my baby from the shelter instead of my job, and then some days she'll drop him back off to me at the shelter, or she'll drop him off to my job, and then I'll just take an Uber or whatever back home. So I stayed there for from December 30th up until February 2nd. I'm sorry, February 10th. February 10th, I moved into my own house. Somewhere between January and some somewhere in January, my car I shipped my car here, and that made life so much easier, y'all. Oh my gosh, thank you, Lord, because that was a process. But I got my car shipped here, and life was so much easier after that. And I'm gonna pause right there, like, so I was blessed with my home in February, and I've been in my home since February. This particular home that I'm living in, the lease is for 1 year, and it kind of helps me to transition from homelessness back into my own independence, right? And it's been a blessing. I can't tell y'all the whole story right now, but it's been a blessing. But when I tell y'all, God has been providing, God has been making a way since I've been here. And like every time I look up, like, so in May I stopped working at my job at Job Corps because at that point, the child care situation with my friend, it was going on longer than it was supposed to. Shout out to Danielle Patterson, my dog. Like, I love her. Thank you so much. Because she offered to keep my baby, right? And we never discussed a fee or anything like that. And she just wanted to help me. And I did when I could financially compensate her. And however, life was changing, and it was the child care thing had just been going on for too long, and it was kind of interfering with some things that she already had previously going on in her life before I moved here. And so I started to look for different positions within my job that would accommodate my schedule, that would allow me to work a daytime schedule so that my child could go to daycare. Because although that we have, what I learned was we had two overnight daycares. They 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 advertise as being 24-hour daycares, but they're not open 24/7. Okay, so um, their days that they wasn't open didn't coincide with the days that I had off from work, and I couldn't change my days off, right? So, um, oddly enough, they changed my days off when it was suitable for them, but not when it was suitable for me, right? So now I'm like, okay, I have to do something different. I didn't want to leave my company. I was with Job Corps. I have been with Job Corps for over 3 years at this point, right? So I'm like, what am I going to do? So after they wouldn't allow me to apply for a different position until my 90 days were up. So after I got a 90-day satisfactory um, evaluation, then I was able to apply for other positions within the company. So I was like, okay, what do I want to do? Where do I see myself going with this? And I wanted to try a different department. Now it was a demotion for me because I was a supervisor. So I was going down from a supervisor to a regular staff in a different department. So I interviewed for the job. I got the job. Um, I had agreed to a schedule, hours that worked perfectly for me and my baby. Now, mind you, at this point, I'm dropping my baby off at night because it got to the point to where now when my car got here, my friend stopped having to come and get him, and I would take him to her and then go to work and come back and get him in the morning because she had already done enough, right? And so the demotion. So I'm trying to demote myself because I'm trying to get a different position, so that I can put my baby in the daycare and my friend can get back to having her freedom in her life. You know, so um, I'm like, okay, because right now is I'm dropping him off at 11 at night or somewhere 10:30. I think I used to leave my house around 10:30 in order to get to work at least 10 or 15 minutes early. Um, I would drop him off and then I would go to work. And then when I get off of work, I would go pick him up. But the thing was, while I'm at work, excuse me, he's sound asleep. He's sleeping for them 8, 9 hours. I get off of work from being up all night. Now I have to come home with this baby who's fully energized and I have no energy. So, and this is 5 days a week. So some days I wouldn't even get sleep in between shifts. So it was just starting to really like weigh on me. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? So when I applied for that other position, it was almost $3 less. I think $3 less than what I was. I think it was $3, almost $3 less than what I was making in the supervisor position. But it was a sacrifice I was willing to make because for my sanity, for my relationship with my baby, for just life in general. I could have went back to that position later if that's what I chose to do or whatever or don't whatever. But it would have accommodated my life and it would have worked with the hours of operation for the daycare center, right? So I talked to HR. I'm like, hey, I did the interview, I got the job. What's the next step? She was like, oh, we have to talk with corporate because this is a demotion, and anytime you demoting yourself, even if it is willfully, then we have to um speak with corporate first. So the talk with corporate took like almost 2 months, if I'm not mistaken. And if it didn't, that's what it felt like, right? And so at this point, I've had to miss a couple days, right? I've already extended my unpaid leave days because my friend went on vacation. Me and my baby was sick at some point. Like it was a lot going on. So now I don't have any legitimate days off left. I don't have any PTO. I don't have any sick time. Like, well, I did have sick time, but I used the sick time. So now I've already, when I first got hired for the position, because this was something me and my babysitter was my friend girl, we were already discussing. Um, I let her know when I first got the job, right? And I was like, hey, I got the position. I'm just waiting for them to let me know when I could start. So then she started moving things, rearranging things in her life to accommodate her and her family. Now that she's not going to be watching my baby anymore. Except when this situation happened with corporate, now that's that pushed us back because now it's like, what is this? We didn't expect that. I didn't expect that, or I would not have told her when I told her that I got the job and everything. If I had known immediately that that's how it was going to go, I wouldn't have done it because I worked in a couple different departments back home and we didn't have to go through anything like that. Period. So but that was a promotion, not a demotion, so it could work differently. Anyway, May 5th comes along, and now HR calls me and tell me, hey, um, we spoke to corporate, and we're willing to bring you onto this new position, but these are the new hours. Y'all, they presented me with a schedule that no longer accommodated me. It was not the schedule that I agreed to. It was not like it no longer accommodated me. So now what am I going to do with this schedule? Because now this schedule is almost similar to the other schedule. So I inquired to find out if it was any other positions available in the company because when I got hired, I was told as long as you have a 90-day satisfactory evaluation, then you can apply for any department. And so that's what I'm trying to do. Not to mention, I've been with this company for over 3 years at this point. So I think I could about be trained in any department. And normally it's a little easier when you're going in-house versus going out-house because um, outside the house, because that's less training you have to do. So because it's already, you already know the system that they work with and all of this stuff, so it's like less training. So I'm like, okay, um well, at this point I'll continue in this role until further notice. That was May 5th. My birthday was May 7th. Now I done missed May 5th. I done missed, did I miss, was it May 5th? I missed May 5th and I missed May 6th. Now I'm about to be missing May 7th too if I don't do something. I'm trying to situate things with the daycare. I'm trying to confirm things with HR. Now I'm not able to. I was already in communication with the daycare center trying to set up something for this shift to see if they can accommodate me for this shift, except they wasn't. And so when I tried to present it in a different way, I was no longer able to get in contact with the owner of the daycare. So May 7th rolled around. I'd already had to call off twice. I am not, I have never been fired and I don't plan on being fired, right? I will resign or give you a 2 weeks notice. However, there was not enough time to give a 2 weeks notice, because if I don't have childcare for 2 days, going on 3 days, I'm not going to have childcare for 2 weeks. Make it make sense, right? So, the morning of May 7th, as a matter of fact, the night of May 6th, I was crying because I really love the at risk youth. I love working with the children. I loved my job. And I really did not want to leave my job. So um, I ended up, I was crying and I was praying and I was like, I don't know what to do, because now it's like, now what? Right? And so I heard like the Holy Spirit say, do what you need to do, because I was stressing, y'all. I was losing sleep. I was stressing out. Like I was like really panicking. Like, what am I going to do? I'm trying to think of un like irresponsible, and I say irresponsible because I was thinking things like, dang, where is my baby gonna go? Right? Like if I go to work tonight, he can't be on center. Maybe I can put him to sleep in the car and then just go out there and check on him on my breaks and stuff. But no, I shouldn't have to do that. After all, y'all hired me for this particular shift and then changed it before y'all told me when I could start. And so I was like, okay, when the Holy Spirit said, do what you need to do, I was like, he said, do what you know you need to do. And I was like, okay. So I got up, I wiped my face, I praised him and everything. The next morning, May 7th, on my 40th birthday, I got up, um, I anointed my home with oil, put up a couple scriptures, I anointed myself, and I prayed. And I typed up a letter of resignation and I submitted it. And I cried when I was typing this letter up, y'all, because I didn't want to. I didn't want to do it. And so I did what I had to do. And unfortunately, I left a job that I thought I was going to be at for a very long time, right? And I love my job. I love working with the young people and everything. But as God would have it, although He did lead me here, and even though I thought it was for that reason, I thought I was sent here to change the young people, to help make a change in their life and so on and so forth. And y'all, what it all boiled down to is God sent me here to change me. He sent me here to change my life, to do something different in my life, to do something in me and through me, right? And let's see, uh, it's been 5 months. What, Tuesday will be 5 months since I left Job Corps. And when I tell y'all, we need a part two for that, okay? So this video is like almost 50 minutes. I will do a part two. I will try to do a part two later. Right now I have some things to handle. But yeah, like, give me a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe, something. tune in to the second video, part 2 of this journey to Arizona. I love y'all for y'all support. Thank you. And just keep tuning in. It gets better. Okay. I love y'all. Bye.